Hey everyone, and welcome back to Sax V2. I've been away in Argentina catching dengue, so apologies for the lack of content here on this channel and the main one. Pretty small company, I'm the only one that tends to make all the content, so sometimes you do find a few gaps. But we are working on potentially getting someone else in to deliver you some more content soon, so hopefully we'll be putting out a lot more videos. Anyway, George has no idea what video we're doing today, do you?
No.
Absolutely no idea. And George is often sending me text telling me he wants to do something, saying he wants to be blindfolded. That's not what you had in mind, was it? Actually, no. Here in the shop, it was actually, I think, meant to be a private thing. Yeah. But here we are with the blindfold. Today's challenge for you is to spot the most expensive saxophone that we've ever had in the shop's history.
Right.
So we have just received a gold-plated Selmer Supreme. These are immensely hard to get hold of. They usually take about a year to arrive, but we've managed to secure one and we've got it here in the shop today.
Okay.
So I'm going to be passing George a variety of saxophones into the room whilst he's blindfolded.
They're altos?
Altos.
Right.
You've got to play them.
Okay.
And work out which one is the £20,000 gold-plated Selmer Supreme.
Right.
You up for the challenge?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right.
I'm interested to see what you're going to put it up against.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Well, it could go horribly wrong, or it could be an interesting experiment.
All right, well, let's do it.
Let's get on to it. It's time to get the first saxophone. Let's go and grab it.
The first saxophone I've chosen is the Signature Custom in bronze. Signature Custom have become well known for their vintage-inspired saxophones, and the keywork isn't that far away from a Selmer Paris instrument, so I'm hoping that George won't recognise what it is.
Okay, here we have gorgeous George, blindfolded up. How are you feeling?
Tired, actually.
Tired? Is it making you sleepy?
Yeah, it's quite nice.
Just for clarification, George, you can't see anything, right?
No, my eyes are closed anyway underneath this.
Okay, so George has closed his eyes as well, because it's probably not the best mask in the world, is it? But we're going to make sure he can't see anything, so he's closed his eyes as well. Right, we have a couple of rules. You can't touch the neck, and you can't touch the bell as well, because you might feel the logo. I'm going to put the mouthpiece on for you, again, just in case you feel the neck, as that might be a bit of a giveaway. I'm going to put the mouthpiece on, we'll have a little bit of a cut here, and then George will play instrument number one.
Okay.
Right, give me your comments. How does it sound? How does it feel? Is it a Selmer? Is it a £20,000 Selmer?
Well, it doesn't feel like a £20,000 saxophone.
Okay.
It doesn't sound like a bad saxophone or a cheaper saxophone.
No.
But it does feel unusual.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, if I was to guess what sax this was,
Yeah, go on, have a guess.
oh God, I'd say something like a Trevor James or something similar along those lines.
Okay, interesting.
But probably way off.
In terms of the tone, I mean, from where I am, it sounds quite big sounding, right? Another quick go?
Yeah, it's quite like a tight sort of sound.
Yeah. So basically a tight sound, it doesn't feel like a £20,000 saxophone,
Yeah.
and you think it's potentially a Trevor James.
It might not be.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Well, let's move on to saxophone number two.
All right then.
Saxophone number two. Let's see how George gets on with this.
I genuinely feel a little bit scared even holding this instrument, but this is the Selmer Supreme gold-plated alto. Let's see if George can work out what this instrument is.
Okay, saxophone number 2.
Yeah.
So, how did it feel under the fingers?
It feels like everything is doing exactly what it should be doing. Everything seems, in terms of how it's all spaced, palm keys in a nice position. You know, everything feels perfect to me.
How about the sound?
Sound, it's quite powerful. Almost, I don't know if this is a tone thing, but it makes me want to. The whole saxophone is playing ball a lot more than the previous model. But which will make you play better. So it seems like it's going to be a more expensive, higher-end saxophone to me.
Okay, and do you think it's a Selmer?
Yeah.
Yes, you think that is a Selmer. And why do you think it's a Selmer?
Just because. Oh, it could be Yamaha. Thinking about it now, it could be either of them.
For what reason?
Because it feels well built and well made. It's not a sound thing. It's not a tone thing or a playing thing. It's like.
I mean, Yanagisawa is very well built.
It doesn't feel like a Yanagisawa.
No? Okay.
No. If it is, that's funny.
So you're saying Yamaha or Selmer?
Potentially, yeah.
Okay, but you like it?
Yeah, it's good. I think
Great.
it's good sax.
So saxophone number 2.
Yeah.
George likes it. Let's move on to sax number 3. It's time to get saxophone number 3.
With its flexible sound and light and nimble keywork, the Yanagisawa AWO1 is our most popular professional saxophone. Let's see if George can work out what it is.
Right.
What do you think? How does it feel?
Initially, I thought it was a Yanagisawa in terms of how it feels.
Yeah.
But then it felt a bit loose for some reason.
What do you mean by loose?
As
Like a
in,
bit light?
Like, no, not as in the action was loose, as in the build or the position of things seemed a bit loose.
Okay, interesting.
I can't even tell by the keys what they are. Maybe. Yeah. Next question.
So sound, how did it sound to you?
It sounded buzzy.
Buzzy.
Buzzy. Don't know why. Yeah. Bright, I suppose. It like kind of nasally in a way. But also quite loud. Yeah.
Do you think it's a Selmer?
No, I don't think it's a Selmer. I don't think it was as good as number 2.
Okay.
When I say good, I mean as expensive
Okay.
as. I mean, it could be, but obviously, but
Yeah.
I prefer playing number 2.
So number 2 is your favourite so far?
Yeah, the Sakuzi. Whatever it is.
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Any guesses to what it might be?
I mean, my gut is saying Yanagisawa,
Okay.
but it could quite easily not be.
Okay. Right, well,
There we go. That's
that's
mine.
sax number 3. Let's move on to sax number 4.
Okay.
Okay, it's time for saxophone number 4.
To celebrate their 20th anniversary, P.Mauriat have made this absolutely stunning 67R. Here you might see me shaking a few saxophones near to George. I'm just trying to throw him off the scent, just to confuse him a little bit. This has quite a big sound, this instrument, so I'm hoping that it's not going to sound too different to the slightly more condensed sounding Selmer. Let's see how he gets on.
Okay.
How does it sound?
I mean, tone-wise, it's not too far apart from some of the models we've already played, but I feel like the intonation's not so great on this one for some reason. I mean, when I was doing that, usually very expensive saxophones wouldn't play so sharp on that.
Okay, and how did it feel under the fingers?
It felt like it's massive over this side here, like unusually large. Like my little finger's not even big enough to cope with it really. Other than that, I mean that's a bit light. Yeah, it feels okay, average feel.
Okay, well I think I know what your answer's going to be to the next question.
Yeah.
Is it the Selmer?
No, I don't think it's the Selmer.
You seem most positive about this one here. Why do you feel like...
Positive?
Yeah, that it's not the Selmer, sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, positive that it's not the Selmer. Why?
Why?
Yeah.
I would... Is it the Selmer?
Well, that's the thing, it could be.
I don't know. I mean, it just feels a little bit loose again. Like I'm talking about mechanically and mechanism-wise loose.
Okay.
It feels like a bit rattly in ways like that.
Okay.
But then again, Selmers can have
Yeah, I was going to say.
strange like intonation as well because you have to learn how a Selmer plays.
They're not always perfect.
No. Where is it?
Okay, George, if you were to guess what saxophone this is, what do you think it is?
I mean, I would have probably said something like a Cannonball or a P.Mauriat.
Why?
Just because it feels bigger.
Okay.
Nothing to do with sound again. I know, yeah, it's hard for me to focus on the sound when all I have is the touch is the main sense at this moment in time. But yeah.
Okay, so Cannonball or P.Mauriat is your guess?
Yeah, but then again,
Could be anything.
could be like a La Bravo or something. Or no, or an Axos.
Okay.
Selmer Axos potentially.
Right,
Something
well,
like
let's move on to saxophone number 5.
that. Okay.
Last but not least, it's time for saxophone number 5. Let's see how George gets on with it.
The last saxophone is the Jean Paul AS400. This saxophone represents great value for money. It's something that George isn't familiar with, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets on with this and whether we can fool him into thinking it's a £20,000 gold-plated Selmer.
This is the weirdest one out of all of them.
In what way? Why is it weird?
Don't know. Doesn't seem like a normal alto.
Okay, right, let's have your report then.
Well,
How does it feel?
it feels very, 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 very unusual.
In what way? Why does it feel unusual?
Well, there's a massive dip in all of the keys, like they're
Yeah.
concave, would that be the correct word?
But that's not necessarily a bad thing, though, is it?
No,
If you're
no,
saying
no.
unusual, you don't mean bad, though.
No.
You're just saying it's
I would have-
different from what you're used
I'd have
to.
said bad if I thought bad.
Yeah.
I meant unusual when I said it.
Yeah.
Like, I've never played a sax like that before. Imagine if you just given me my sax, I've never noticed.
Well, maybe it is.
And it feels all the keys on this side feel like they're round on the side of the
Okay.
instrument. Sound-wise, it sounds all right, I think.
Okay, so if you were going to take a guess, is it the £20,000 Selmer?
No.
And if not, what do you think it is?
I think this is a student Yamaha sax.
So you think the 280?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've guessed that.
And for what reason? Why do you think it's the student Yamaha?
I think there's just such an alteration in the key positionings.
So you think it's more aimed at beginners, the key positions?
I think this might be aimed at somebody potentially with smaller hands, which
Okay.
you could argue a beginner might be younger and have smaller hands.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, it sounds good though.
Yeah, it sounds great from here.
I'd like to think that I can sometimes tell what the sax is by like the top F key.
Yeah.
They all seem really similar. I don't know if you've picked ones that are similar on purpose.
Well,
But I can't
may
really
have.
tell.
Okay, so you think student Yamaha on this one?
Yeah.
Okay,
God,
great.
I can't wait to find out how wrong I am on all of
Let's
these.
cut the camera, take the blindfold off, and I will reveal the saxophones to you. Right, George. Well, yeah, that's quite impressive, actually.
Really?
You did pretty well, considering you were blindfolded, couldn't see what was going on.
Okay.
And you had a variety of saxophones. I purposely chose that the keywork wasn't that different. A lot of manufacturers base their keywork from Selmer Paris, mainly the Mark 6.
Right, yeah.
So they don't feel that different, do they, under the fingers? Obviously, you did find some differences.
There was a couple of differences.
But anyway, let me reveal the saxophones to you, George. So saxophone number 1 was, what did you think it was?
Trevor James?
You thought it was a Trevor James. Well, George, I can tell you now, it was a Trevor James.
Oh, it was?
There we go. So
What was
it
it?
was the signature custom in
Oh.
bronze.
Right.
Here it is.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, do you remember playing this saxophone?
Yeah.
Okay, and you.
So when I said Trevor James, I
Yeah.
thought it was, you know, like the £700 sort of Trevor James.
Okay, so you
But
didn't realise it was the
I didn't
signature
realise it
custom.
was the £2,749 version of the SIG
Okay.
Custom, but
Okay.
it definitely had that Trevor James feel to it, which
Okay.
makes sense.
Okay, well let me pop this back.
Right.
And show you saxophone number 2. So this was your favourite,
Yeah.
and it was the Sakusa. No, it wasn't really. It was the gold-plated Selmer
it was.
Supreme. It was. You got it
geez.
right. So congratulations,
it's
George.
on the Yamaha stand.
Maybe I need to get a tighter face mask next time.
No.
He's been peaking, but he did do particularly well. I mean, George, you play Selmers. You've played
Yeah.
them for years now, haven't you?
That's mad.
So they do
As
feel
if-
familiar
let me
to
feel it.
you.
I won't
So
scratch it, I
yeah,
promise.
be careful with it. And I mean, this instrument, it just gleams, doesn't it, in the light? Don't you dare.
Just take it off me. I don't want to make.
I'm a bit scared to even hold this, but just to reiterate, we've never had one of these instruments before. This is totally new to us. It's not going to be out on display in the London shop. It really is going to be, appointment only if you do want to come and see this instrument.
Do you know what gave it away on this one?
What gave it away?
It felt perfect.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
Maybe it is because I do play Selmer.
You love your Selmers as well,
But I
don't you?
don't
So you
play
pre-
alto ever. Like I maybe pick up an alto saxophone once every couple of weeks if I'm teaching a student on alto.
Yeah.
But it just felt good.
Yeah.
And I thought that immediately.
So really, I mean, obviously it's a lot of money, but you could argue that this is really the ultimate alto saxophone, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a lot of money. Let's not beat around the bush.
I'm
But
glad that it was.
you
that
got it
one.
right. So
Yeah.
anyway, let's go through the other
Okay.
instruments. So the third instrument, which I was really surprised about, you said it felt rattly under
Was
your
it a
fingers.
Yanni or something?
It was a Yanagisawa. So
Really?
again, you got it right.
Oh, so I did say it was a Yanni.
Yeah, you said
Oh,
it was a
right.
Yanni. You said initially you said I thought it was a Yanni,
Yeah.
but the keywork felt a bit rattly.
It was just this.
Yeah.
Let me have a feel. See if I can. Yeah, it was just this. These table keys, if that's what you would actually call them, on the left hand, they just felt.
So George is single-handedly upsetting a lot of Yanagisawa fans right
Yeah,
now.
I mean, I don't think I had anything bad to say about the sound.
No, the sound. The sound you were
I don't
quite
think-
positive about,
I
but
don't know
you
if-
weren't so sure about the keywork, were you? Which is
Yeah.
really strange considering Yanagisawa
That's
is
what they're
well
known for.
known for having the best keywork, and they do feel
Yeah.
so slick and nimble, don't they? I mean, perhaps we need to have a look at this in the workshop and.
Potentially. I don't think it's anything against Yanagisawa. I think it's probably because I do play more tenor, and the Yanagisawa tenors are noticeably even more positive than this.
Yeah.
Because they're smaller, no, they're bigger anyway, the tenors, so everything, if it's slicker, it will be slicker.
Okay,
talking
saxophone
nonsense.
number 4. was the P.Mauriat 67R Anniversary model.
What did I say? Mauriat or Cannonball?
You said Mauriat or Cannonball.
Yeah.
So again, you felt that it was a little bit larger under the fingers.
Yeah, I was going to say either that or Carlworth as well. It just felt like the sax felt bigger.
And the sound as well, not only the way it plays, but to me at least.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't want to say too much from the other side of the camera to sort of give anything away, but for me, when I heard this, I instantly heard a more sort of like width and sort of depth.
You hear it differently to me.
Yeah, exactly.
You're in front.
And it's something that might not come across on the microphone, is that kind of like bass response that you get from some of these.
So I've got
but to
all of
me,
these right?
well, you got that
technically.
50% on this one.
Well,
you said Cannonball or Mauriat.
Right.
So you were very, very close. But this one here, the anniversary one, as you can see, I mean, it looks absolutely spectacular. It has this extensive hand engraving on it, and it's to celebrate their 25th anniversary. Oh, sorry, 20th anniversary. And yeah, it's an absolute beaut, isn't it? But for you, you know, it didn't feel quite as nimble under the fingers. Anyway, let's move on to saxophone number 5. Right, so here we go, saxophone number 5. So
I
you
thought
were
it was a student
close.
Yamaha.
You did. You said you thought it was designed with beginners in mind. It is the Jean Paul AS. I always forget the code of this one. AS400, I think, is the code. Sorry, I'll put it up on screen if it's wrong. Right. So yeah, these represent really good value for money, these Jean Paul saxophones, and they're set up really well by their team in Miami. But to you kept saying it felt strange. But I think it's probably because you're quite privileged in the saxophones you play, aren't you? So I mean, you're not playing student instruments, are you? You've got your Selmers. And student instruments are often designed, exactly as you said, with beginners in mind.
Right. Oh, I did well there. I'm actually very surprised. Well, I thought, because in my head, I thought I was way off with all of them. Like, I was doubting everything I said.
So George thought this was a Yamaha 280, which is a real compliment to the Jean Paul, isn't it? Because the Yamaha 280, as we all know, is the sort of go-to gold standard of student saxophones. However, the Yamaha 280 has gone up in price quite considerably. So it makes instruments like this Jean Paul even more attractive now, doesn't it? Because, you know, not everyone's got over £1,000 or, you know, $1,400 to spend on their first saxophone.
No, that's right.
So the fact that this felt, you know, really nimble and nice and easy for you to play, really
I think
bodes well.
I think they might have stolen a couple of ideas from the Yamaha here, because that's what I felt. As well. But then again, Yamahas, they don't have the indentation into the pearls or the keys. Maybe they do. I can't remember.
So there we go. How was that? That was an interesting experiment. I was actually surprised how many of them you got right or very close. Maybe we're going to have to get a tighter blindfold next time. What do you think? And which one did you like the sound of? Which one, if you've played these before, have you had your hands on a gold-plated Selmer before? Let us know what you think in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Probably slightly longer than usual. So
it was fun though.
Yeah, it was fun. If you're still here, thank you for watching.
Cheers.
Like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you later.